The first type of author style I want to talk about today is inline style. Inline style is called inline because we put it directly into the opening tag of the element that we want the style to be applied to. Let's say I want to make this block quote blue background with a white text. I can do that by applying the style directly to this element. If you open up 03_04.html, which you'll find in the Chapter 3 folder of your exercise files, you can follow along with me as we make some modifications to this particular page to demonstrate inline style. Let's go ahead and add the style attribute, which is how we put style into an individual element. Let's go ahead and give this a background color of blue. And we'll give it a text color, which just uses the color property of white. And if we save that and we view it in Design View in this case, we see that, in fact, the block quote has done exactly what we want it to do. Blue background, white text. We can continue on styling aspects of this particular page. Let's go ahead and drop a color into the H2. So go ahead and put the style attribute in, equal sign. I like to put both of my quotes, which have to be around the style information, in right away so I don't forget one. Because if you do forget one, you can cause all kinds of display problems. And really, I tell you, it's a very funny thing, but one quotation mark can absolutely ruin your whole day. I have definitely spent full days looking for that single quotation mark that was messing up my site. So just a little personal habit there is to typically put both quotes in, move over, and then put in the information. Let's go ahead and give this a color of red. And if we look at it in a browser or in Design View, in this case in Dreamweaver 8, we see that in fact our header has turned red. To demonstrate that inline style only applies to the element that it is being introduced to, we can go ahead and put a style into this paragraph. Let's go ahead and text align this to the right. We save that and we look at it and we see that in fact that information is now aligned to the right. However, we can see that we have a paragraph here that doesn't have that style and it is not aligned to the right. So again, inline style is only going to affect the element that it's applied to. Now there's some concerns about inline style in contemporary design. It is pretty much frowned upon by current thinking, and the reason for that is because it mimics presentational HTML. In other words, let's say I had another paragraph, and in presentational HTML, what I would have done to align this to the right is I would have simply said p align equals right. Okay? And if we look at that, we see both paragraphs are now aligned right. You get the same results, but one is using presentational HTML, in other words, HTML that is doing something that is styling the element, versus style, which is styling the element. And in line, you can see that this is actually more code than this. So it is very akin to presentational HTML. And as a result, it's being really frowned upon. And the current thinking within the W3C's working group with HTML is to take the style attribute completely out of the future HTML specs so that we never even use it again. This is not something set in stone. It's still being discussed, but we can pretty much expect that that will be true. So inline style, the reasons that you have to learn about it, obviously, is because it is very powerful. It will override this style because it is just for this discrete element. It will override browser styles and other author styles that you have coming in from other types of style sheets. Any element with a style attribute and some style property here is going to take precedence in the hierarchy that is the cascade in cascading style sheets. So its best uses for contemporary practices is to use perhaps during a testing phase while you're designing. You can add inline style to see, okay, I do want that particular header to be red, things like that. So you're testing it out. Another way of using it is in diagnostics. If something isn't working right in another type of style sheet, you can put an inline style into a given element. And if it then works, you know that there's some kind of conflict somewhere because inline style, again, is going to override those other styles. So you can find out if there are conflicts somewhere using inline style as a diagnostic tool. I only recommend that you do that as a diagnostic and then pull those styles out and put them into another type of author style sheet. The other reason that people use inline style is sheer laziness, and I myself am very guilty of this. I will often just use inline style on my blog to float an image right or something like that, and it's a very bad practice, a very bad habit. While we need to understand the role of inline style in the cascade, it's something that I highly recommend that you avoid, except for these very specific purposes of development and diagnostics. In the next exercise, you'll learn about embedded style, which is the style that controls the entire page.